Welcome to our program on dementia and driving. Dementia is a growing concern as veterans age. The decision to hang up the keys can greatly change a veteran's life. But as clinicians, we need to stay alert to unsafe driving. These upcoming vignettes will educate you about the risk factors for unsafe driving. We demonstrate how to gather information about a veteran's driving abilities and behaviors. We show you how to work with veterans and their families as they plan and manage retirement from driving. This video can also be shared with veterans with dementia and their families to help address driving. Our goal is to help providers maintain veteran safety and mobility and provide the best care anywhere.
A year ago, Vietnam War veteran Edward Taylor was diagnosed with early dementia. At the time, he and his family were encouraged to talk about plans for the future, including legal and financial issues, health care, and driving. Now Mr. Taylor returns to the VA with his wife for a follow-up visit with his primary care physician, Amir Akbar. His wife, Sophia, notes that he has become more forgetful and has become disoriented at times. His wife is also concerned about her husband's driving.
Mr. Taylor, it sounds like you may be having more difficulty since we last met. I'm glad your daughter has started to help you with your bills, and the neighbors helping with the mowing. Your wife mentioned that you lost your way, driving home from your son's place.
Yes, well, that's because of my night vision. I've really cut down on driving at night since then.
But this happened early evening, before dark. Ed, you frightened me when you didn't know which way to turn on Broadway, and then you couldn't remember how to turn into our neighborhood.
Well, that was a bad day. I didn't get much sleep the night before.
Maybe this is a good time for me to learn more about your driving. So tell me, where do you drive most of the time?
Well, my friend Dave and I meet for coffee at the convenience store most days. I visit the grandkids at my son's place, and I'm the one who takes Sophia to the grocery store.
It seems you keep busy. So how often do you drive?
Well, Sophia here has never liked driving much, so I pretty much do all the driving. I get out there in my truck almost every day.
I know you told me you don't drive much at night, but tell me, do you drive alone?
Yes, well, most of the time. But nothing's more than 10 miles away.
Have you had any accidents or near misses?
No, like I said,
Eddie, remember that little accident you had a few weeks ago? The fence you hit pulling out of our driveway? Luckily, no one was hurt. I'm surprised you've never gotten pulled over by the police.
You had a driving accident recently?
Yeah, so what? Now, it wasn't an accident. I hit a fence, okay? My first fender bender ever. There's all this construction going on in our neighborhood. It could have happened to anyone. Anyway, I have a great driving record.
But things have changed lately, Ed. It's not all the time, but sometimes. Instead of a fence, that could have been a child riding a bike. I don't want anything to happen to you or anyone else.
Well, me neither. Jeez. It won't happen again.
Between the fender bender and getting lost on the way home from your son's house, it would be helpful to make sure that you're safe to be driving. The best way to know that is to evaluate your driving.
What? Are you kidding? A driving test?
Yes, that's right. I'm recommending a driving evaluation. Like I said, I'm very concerned about your safety and those around you. At our VA, we can schedule a driving evaluation with a driver rehabilitation specialist in the rehab department.
Really? I haven't done one of those in years, and now you're forcing me to take a driving test? Unbelievable.
I can see why it may sound strange. What I'm recommending is a driving evaluation that is conducted by a specially trained driver rehabilitation specialist. This is very different from the test that you took to get your license. The evaluation will help us understand your ability to drive safely.
Please, honey. You know I don't like this any more than you do. You drive us all over, and I know what driving means to you.
But there's nothing wrong with my driving.
Veterans with early dementia can remain good drivers. However, to get a good picture of your abilities, we should schedule a driving evaluation. Okay?
Well, okay. I'll do it. Then you'll see that I'm fine.
Good. Wait right here and we'll see which days and times may work for the driver rehabilitation specialist. I'll set up a follow-up visit with you after you take the evaluation. Ms. Taylor, in the meantime, can you do the driving?
Yes, of course.
Great.
Veterans with dementia may not recognize their risk while driving. Family and friends usually are the first to notice changes in the veteran's driving abilities. During the clinic visit, the primary care doctor picks up on a red flag when the wife mentions that the veteran lost his way driving from his son's place. This prompts the clinician to gather details about the veteran's driving behaviors. Here are some important questions to ask. Where does the veteran drive? When does he drive? With whom does the veteran drive? What distance does he or she drive? Ask about any accidents and near misses, being stopped or ticketed by a police officer. And does the veteran rely on his spouse for co-piloting when driving?
Here you are.
Thank you.
With the information obtained, the clinician is able to make an appropriate recommendation and referral for a driving evaluation. If your VA does not offer driving evaluations, you can make arrangements through other local resources. A few weeks later, veteran Edward Taylor returns to the VA with his wife to complete a driving evaluation. There are concerns dementia may be affecting his driving. The couple meets with Anna Cho, a driver rehabilitation specialist, or DRS. A DRS is usually an occupational therapist or kinesiotherapist with training to assess driving abilities. The comprehensive driving evaluation has two parts: the clinical evaluation, followed by the on-road assessment. The clinical evaluation begins with an interview with the veteran and perhaps the veteran's family to determine the issues to be addressed. The specialist will gather a history of the veteran's driving experiences and functional abilities.
Mr. Taylor, during your evaluation, we'll have you do a vision test. We'll test both your ability to see and your field of view.
My eyes are great during the day. That's when I normally drive.
Well, good. The vision test will show us that and more. We'll also test some physical abilities like range of motion, strength, and reaction times, okay?
Sure.
Then I'll have you take a test on the computer to see how well you know traffic signs and other rules of the road. So, let's get started then.
I've been driving over 50 years. I guess I should know the rules by now.
Eddie's always been a really good driver until lately.
Right, and we're not questioning whether you have been a good driver. The goal today is to determine whether the dementia is interfering with your ability to drive safely. Okay?
Okay.
Completion of the clinical evaluation indicates that core abilities meet minimum state licensing standards for vision, cognition, and physical ability. Note that driving standards vary by state. If the veteran successfully completes the clinical evaluation, he will continue to the second part of the driving evaluation, the on-road assessment. This is done without family being present. The vehicle will be provided by the VA.
Mr. Taylor, this is the car you'll be driving. We'll have you do basic driving, traveling through neighborhood streets, stopping at stop signs or traffic lights, turning down roads, parking the car, and backing up.
Like what I do every day.
That's right. Drive as you normally would, following all the rules of the road. Just pretend I'm not here.
Yeah, right. You with a clipboard taking notes, huh?
I know this is not easy, but you have a medical condition that can affect your driving. As I mentioned earlier, we need to evaluate your driving for safety.
Well, I am just doing this so the doc and my wife get off my back. Prove I'm a good driver, okay?
I understand. So just take your time. Try and relax.
Yeah, that's easy for you to say. Well, I don't mean to be rude. Let's get in so I can get this over with.
Before driving, the veteran is oriented to the vehicle's mirrors and controls. The on-road assessment typically begins in the parking lot and progresses to more challenging driving, with the final piece on a highway. If at any time the veteran demonstrates unsafe driving, the DRS terminates the test. During the driving assessment, critical driving behaviors and skills are observed, such as visual scanning, negotiating left-hand turns and lane changes, judging the gap to safely merge into traffic, safe and legal speed regulation, and ability to respond appropriately to traffic signs. The DRS usually provides immediate feedback after the veteran completes the evaluation. Results are sent to the veteran's doctor. Then, a follow-up visit with the doctor is scheduled to share results and recommendations.
The Taylors are here to see you.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
A few days later, veteran Edward Taylor returns to the VA to discuss the driving evaluation results and future plans. Dr. Akbar has arranged for a social worker, Tanya Brown, to join the meeting with the veteran and his wife.
It's nice to meet you both. I work closely with Dr. Akbar, and I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this meeting today.
Nice to meet you too, but this doesn't look good.
Well, Mr. Taylor, let's get started. As Ms. Cho told you, after your driving evaluation, you made several errors that concern us. For example, when you were behind the wheel, you stopped at a green light and also hit a curb on a straightaway.
Well, I was nervous, and in an area that I'd never driven in before.
I understand. Ms. Brown, would you please go over some other aspects of the evaluation?
Yes, of course. Mr. Taylor, during your written test, you were unable to correctly identify many of the road signs, and you were unsure of some of the rules of the road. You also did poorly on the test for your memory.
So what does that mean? Well, can I retake the test now that I know what to expect? I don't believe this. I drive all the time, no problem.
I know that this is hard to hear. However, the results confirm what we heard at the last visit. On the basis of the information that you provided to me and the driving evaluation results, I recommend that you no longer drive.
What? Well, I'm not going to do it.
Eddie, stop. You need to hear what the doctor and Tanya are telling you.
Sophia, whose side are you on
Well,
anyway?
yours, of course, but I don't want anything bad to happen.
Yeah, and how are we going to get around, even for the basics? You don't like to drive.
We'll figure it out. I'll drive more, and we'll ask a friend or Jimmy to drive us.
Jimmy has a wife, 3 kids, and a job. Our son is too busy to drive us around. And how am I going to get to my VA appointments, huh?
A lot of veterans use volunteer drivers, or they find rides within their community to get to their VA appointments. Before we met up today, I looked into the availability of rides to the VA from your neighborhood. Here's a list of numbers that you can call in order to set up a ride.
How about I drive close to home? Places I'm used to. And promise I won't drive at night.
Mr. Taylor, I'm afraid that the driving evaluations show that there's just too great a risk if you continue driving. Your wife is more than willing to drive herself, and when she isn't able, you have friends and family that can help.
This is going to be hard on us. We're going to have to make some big changes.
I know that it can be hard to adjust to a life without driving. Would you be interested in attending a group with other veterans who face similar challenges?
I don't know. I'll think about it.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll give you some information about that group. And Mrs. Taylor, there are also other groups for spouses of veterans with dementia. Would you be interested in learning more about them?
Yeah.
Okay. There's one that's scheduled at the same time as your husband's meeting, so you would only need to make one trip. And we also offer education on dementia that might be of interest to you both and also your children. I'll notify you of the classes. Does that sound okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and also I wanted to give you some information on community resources that can help veterans with dementia and their families. And there's also a pamphlet on driving and dementia. Provides some tips for veterans and their families.
We know this will be a big adjustment, but I'm glad to hear that you are ready to ask for help. And remember, there's always the VA. You and your wife are encouraged to call us if any questions or concerns come up. It is a lot to take in. Ms. Taylor, are you prepared to drive home today?
Yes, of course.
Good.
Veterans can feel the loss of independence and connection to community when they stop driving. When informing a veteran about your recommendation, it is helpful to have a family member and social worker present to help the veteran process and manage this major life change. The driver rehabilitation specialist typically provides immediate feedback about the evaluation before meeting with the physician again. It is not unusual for people with dementia to question the results of the driving evaluation. However, repeating an evaluation is unlikely to produce different results. Instead, time is better spent helping the veteran and caregiver to find answers to their transportation needs. Notice that the veteran's concerns and objections are handled with kindness and care, and solutions are provided.
I know it's a lot of information to take in.
It has now been 2 days since veteran Edward Taylor met with Dr. Akbar and the social worker, receiving the news to hang up the keys. It is common for a veteran to want to resume driving, even after he or she has been told that it's unsafe to drive.
Gosh darn it, where are those blasted keys?
Honey, what's going on in here?
Sophia, this is crazy. I can't find my truck keys.
Remember, Dr. Akbar said it's not safe for you to drive.
What does he know? A few days ago, I was driving just fine.
I know, but you failed the driving evaluation and you can't drive. In fact, Dr. Akbar notified the state licensing board. So you cannot get back behind the wheel. If you get pulled over or have an accident, you'll be in big trouble.
I'm not going far. I just need to go to the store for a few items and maybe get some coffee with Dave.
Well, why don't I call Dave? Maybe he could pick you up.
What? I don't need to be carted around. That's crazy. There is nothing wrong with my driving. Aha, found him.
Eddie, please. It's not safe for you to drive. You could injure someone.
I'm not going to hurt anyone. I have a good driving record with just that one little fender bender.
Eddie, just stop. You won't be able to go anywhere.
What did you do to my truck?
I didn't do anything. Your truck is in the shop. It may need a new transmission or something.
That sounds fishy to me. What have you and the children been up to?
Honey, let's just sit down and discuss this calmly, okay?
Unbelievable. You guys are ruining my life.
I know, honey, this is hard on you, but remember, you and I both agreed that if you failed the driver's test, you would stop driving.
Yeah, but this is so unfair. Days ago, I was driving just fine.
I know, but now you need to give me the keys. Come on. Hey, how about if I call Dave?
No, that's not necessary. I'll call him myself. I know he'll understand. But this is just embarrassing.
He's a good friend. He'll be there for you.
Yeah, I guess. It's so sad. This is probably the toughest thing. Quitting driving. I can't believe it.
I know. But hanging up the keys is just smart. And I love you for it. And with friends like Dave and our kids, we'll get through this together.
If a veteran insists upon driving after it has been recommended he stops, family members can use different approaches to handle the situation. In this case, Sophia moved the keys from their usual spot and also moved the vehicle out of sight. Other ideas to explore are selling or disabling the vehicle and getting a note from the doctor saying the veteran can no longer drive. Keep in mind what may work for one may not work for another. Ideally, the veteran and family have been planning for retirement from driving since learning the diagnosis. Be aware that veterans can become sad, angry, or isolated after giving up driving. Families should tell the veteran's doctor. if they notice a major change in mood or behavior that does not improve. Families, too, may have to take on the responsibility for transportation, not only driving the veteran to medical appointments or the grocery store, but just as importantly, to social events. Remember to ask friends and relatives for assistance. Most are happy to help.
For most veterans with dementia, the need to stop driving is inevitable. You are encouraged to address driving often in your work with older veterans and their families. Be alert for red flags that driving may be unsafe, and remind family members to do the same. With the loss of driving, there are social and psychological factors to consider. Be mindful of these when you discuss the issue of driving. These concerns are best addressed as a team that includes the physician, social worker, veteran, a family member, and if available, a driver rehabilitation specialist. Also, educate yourself and veterans and their families about your state's laws regarding licensing and impaired driving. Thank you for your compassionate care in working with veterans with dementia and driving.